So I'm going to finish up, and I'm happy to take any questions. So really the points I want to make is that sleep and wake are regulated by the brain, and when there are problems with particularly the same parts of the brain that regulate sleep and wake, which is what can happen with SCAR and SCAR1 in particular, it very commonly leads to things like being too sleepy or can't sleep, or problems with movements during sleep, or things like obstructive sleep apnea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions.
Yes. Any questions?
Sorry.
Come on, you must have. Yes. Would you stand up, please, and we can hear you.
I could have really what I wanted to say first.
Yeah, sure.
Like when you spoke about sleep being burned off, it's like during the day you sort of lose oxygen to the brain. That's sort of what's happening, and then all the blood gets too much carbon dioxide in it, and it leads to reoxygenate, something like that.
No, it's not to do with oxygen and carbon dioxide. There are other, we don't know what they are, there are other chemicals that accumulate while we're awake that when we go to sleep get broken down. Now we know what one of them is. One of them is basically coffee's an antagonist, so it's adenosine for it. So one of the things is adenosine. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine there is in the brain. The more you go to sleep, the less adenosine there is in the brain. Coffee stops the production of adenosine. So coffee, I came in with a coffee. Coffee is a widely used stimulant in Western societies now because it can suppress some of the accumulation of sleepiness across the day. But lots of other chemicals we don't know what they are. But as we start to develop those, it's an area that'll be interesting because there'll be drugs that people will develop to try and counteract that.
Any more questions?
At what stage does a patient that's had a sleep study, at what stage does the doctor decide that they need to have a CPAP machine?
It really varies a lot from person to person and what the symptoms are. So the sleep study is only one bit of the assessment. So if I see a 30-year-old, and I actually see a reasonable amount of sort of worried 30-year-old men who snore, whose wife told them that they stopped breathing once, they've got to have really bad sleep apnea before I'm going to tell them they need to wear a CPAP machine forevermore. Because particularly they've got a low cardiovascular risk factor profile, they haven't got blood pressure, haven't got other problems. Whereas if I see a 60-year-old man with diabetes who's obese, who's on 3 blood pressure pills and has had a heart attack in the past, he doesn't need to have much sleep apnea before I'm going to be worried about that. So it really does depend on what else is going on with the patient. Because I'll treat sleep apnea that's much milder if someone's got a lot of other things going on with their health, compared to if they've got no symptoms and they're just otherwise well. I'm going to be a little bit less keen it with CPAP. Because CPAP, great treatment, works really well for severe sleep apnea. But it's a hard treatment to stick with day in, day out unless you've really got a severe and significant problem.
Any other?
Could you just briefly explain what a CPAP machine is, what it does? And there's another machine called a BiPAP. Is it kind of the same kind of thing?
Yeah, same sort of principle. So CPAP machine, the C stands for continuous positive airway pressure. So it just blows the same pressure right through the body. So a CPAP machine, we set it at a pressure, just enough pressure to keep the back of the throat open, so to stop the tongue and soft tissues falling together. Now, that we use that for obstructive sleep apnea. Now, BiPAP is different. The Bi stands for bilevel. So it has enough pressure when you're breathing out to stop the tongue from collapsing and the soft tissues from collapsing, but when you breathe in it gives extra pressure to make people take a bigger breath. So we use BiPAP in conditions where people don't have enough muscle strength, or the nerve, the brain's not driving the muscles enough to breathe enough. So people are under breathing either because of a drive problem in the brain or a muscle problem. Then BiPAP's used to make sure breathing's adequate during sleep. So generally, CPAP to support the airway for sleep apnea, BiPAP if it's under breathing overnight to try and support that. Yeah, and we use things like BiPAP quite commonly, not as commonly in SCAR, but commonly in some of the other neurological disorders where there's more respiratory muscle problems. SCAR, it's more upper airway, usually, but not always. Now, BiPAP's a brand name as well, so there are other companies' versions of BiPAP that have to be given other names, because one company's got BiPAP as its brand. So there's another machine called VPAP, which is V stands for variable positive airway pressure. VPAP and BiPAP are exactly the same.
Do those kinds of machines actually have a generic name, or is it that's what it is, BiPAP?
Yeah, pretty much people call it BiPAP. The generic name is non-invasive positive pressure ventilation. So everyone says BiPAP.
Yes.
Can you explain to me onto what you treat me? Because I take the drugs that I do because I have trouble waking up. Once I go to sleep, I'm usually, obviously I do have some of those disturbing things, so that's why I'm tired. And but as I thought, if I don't take what I'm prescribed, I can't. I still go to sleep now. What is happening actually in the brain and that fatigue that I do suffer during the day?
Yeah, I'll go back to the you came late. I covered.
I know.
That's all right. So the basic concept is that to stay awake and be able to feel awake through the day, these parts of the brain, all these red dots and orange dots, all need to be intact and be working. Now, there's a scar picture. Okay. And there's an MRI of the brain of someone with SCAR1. And it's showing that these same bits of the brain, the cerebellum, pons, hypothalamus, top of the spinal cord, are just much smaller and shrunken compared to normal. So that's what causes the unsteadiness with gait, the problems with the coordination of speech with swallowing and talking. But they're the bits that are sort of manifest outwardly. You walk down the street, someone notices that. But the bits that aren't manifest outwardly is that all this same area is the bit you need to help you stay awake. So feeling just flat out sleepy would go with that, largely. Now the peculiar thing to me is that why doesn't everybody whose MRI looks like this, why is everybody flat out sleepy? And clearly not everybody is. So that it is a bit variable. We know SCAR is a very variable condition. How it presents in one family can be very different to how it presents in another family. Often within families, somewhat similar, but different from family to family. So it is that the same bits of the brain that are affected in SCAR are the bits that are just critical for staying awake. Now, so that's the staying awake bits. Conversely, you have these other bits that are the staying asleep bits. So, and they're the same area of the brain. So some people with SCAR can have the opposite problem. Yeah, you've got that bit too. Once you're asleep, it can be easy to wake up or hard to sleep. So it's like this paradox, you'd think if you're a champion sleeper during the day, you should be a champion sleeper at night, but often it doesn't go like that. Champion sleeper during the day, not a great sleeper at night.